It's a land blessed with beauty and lure, but cursed with hardship and uncertainty. It's a place where you don't breathe the same air twice. This is Skagway, Alaska. And over 125 years ago, a group of timid horses, stuck-up mules, and men, sick with Klondike-titis, started a 5-day trek up a 45-mile trail of rock and mud near that very spot. We all know that money is an important commodity, right? Well, the year is 1898, and there's not a lot of it to go around. America was in a depression, which had been set off by the collapse of major companies, many of those being railroads. This is commonly referred to as the Long Depression, or the Panic of 1873. It created double-digit unemployment rates for over a decade. To put the 1898 financial situation into perspective, you could go to a bar, buy yourself a beer, or an ale, or whatever you wanted back then, but you would never have enough money to get drunk off of it. That unfortunate, dismal mood would quickly change on July 17th, 1898, with the delivery of a newspaper, which read, "Gold, we sprang from our benches. Gold, we sprang from our stools. Gold, we wheeled in the furrows, fired with the faith of fools," was what Robert Service wrote in his poem, Trail of 98. And I think that sums up exactly how America was feeling when they read those newspapers. So it was no wonders when people sprang from their stools when they heard of easy riches up in the Yukon. But free didn't mean it was going to be an easy trip. If you survived the passage through the Inside Passage up north to Skagway or to Dai, you were faced with a state 8 times the size of New England. The place where the north wind blows was what the Tlingit tribes called it, this inhospitable strip of land nestled in between the highest coastal mountain range on Earth. Yet these newcomers, often referred to as Chichacos, were immune to knowledge and tossed any bit of wisdom into the ashtray when they arrived on the beach in Skagway. The Klondike-titis seemed to make the men immune to the truth that this wasn't the walk in Central Park that had been promised to them on the pier in San Francisco or Seattle. Upon acquiring the ton of goods required by the Canadian Mounties, the stampeders would have to choose which trail to take over the rugged St. Elias Mountains. One stampeder would complain about the 1,500 steps on a naked mountain face with the Chilkoot Trail, while the other would complain about the stench of rotting horses on the White Pass Trail. Tap Natty, the Chichaco from New York, would tell you, it didn't matter which trail you took, because you'd always wish you'd taken the other one. Talk of the town was that the White Pass Trail was pack animal friendly. Captain William Moore, who was the founder of Skagway and one responsible for the discovery of the White Pass Trail, thought, hey, instead of you guys going up and down the Chilkoot Pass time after time with all of that weight on your back, why don't you take the White Pass Trail and have a mule or a horse carry that for you? It'll save you a lot of trips. Though it was less steep than the Chilkoot Trail, the White Pass Trail had no redeeming qualities. Many people in the town wanted to make it sound like it was a trail that you would find at your local state park that's free of obstructions and easily traversable. That was not the truth of the White Pass Trail. The truth was It was merely a footpath used by the Tlingit nations to trade with the First Nations people of Canada. It was an overgrown trail, trodden with boulders, swamps, steep cliffs, whirlpools, and rapids. Upon hearing these side reports of this wretched trail, some people decided to try and tame the trail instead of getting the gold. One such person to make an effort was Sylvester Chauville of the New York World paper. He offered $2,000 on behalf of the paper to dynamite narrow portions of the pass. But the paper didn't want anything to do with it and immediately recalled him back to New York City. But before he went back to New York City, it should be recalled that he lit the fuse and was the first person to make any effort to improve the wretched Quagmire Trail of the White Pass. They say one man's failure is another man's golden opportunity. Ex-Minneapolis Mayor George Brackett took that opportunity and ran with it. In fact, he ran to the Canadian Pacific and Great Northern Railway to help fund him a toll road on the White Pass Trail. Despite all the money put into the 12-mile toll road, it didn't go even halfway to the summit and made no major improvements to the trail. The already busy White Pass Trail suddenly got more busy when a Palm Sunday avalanche occurred on the Chilkoot Trail. The area needed better transportation, and it needed it as soon as possible. Fortunately, a week later, fate would step in.